Since it's the day of Spook today, I decided to dust off one of my old favourites and talk about it, even though Halloween isn't something I really care about. But I decided today to talk about Higurashi no Naku頃に, as it's the only quote-unquote horror show that I've seen and that I care enough to talk about. Based on the mystery game by 7th expansion, Higurashi is set in the rural village of Hinamizawa. Keiichi Maebara had recently moved to the village with his family and was enjoying his new school life, blissfully unaware of dark secrets hidden within the village. When he learns about a murder that took place in the town, his peaceful life suddenly ends, and it turns out that his friends might not be who they seem. Okay, Higurashi isn't really a horror series, it's technically a psychological thriller, but it has enough elements that are scary to justify me talking about it on Halloween. Higurashi no Naku頃にand its sequel series Higurashi no Naku頃にKai were produced by Studio Dean in the spring of 2006 and the summer of 2007 respectively. It's kind of difficult to talk about Higurashi without talking about its second season because it's very unfinished. I'm going to try to focus on the original series, but it's important to keep in mind when watching the first season that there is more and all of your answers will be there. The first season is mostly building up to a second season, asking a lot of questions but not giving us a whole lot of answers. It does nothing to help the viewer and everything to try and confuse them and make them wonder what on earth is happening. And the first series by itself would be wholly unsatisfying, but it does have a second season that helps that problem immensely. But the structure of the first season is a little different to what you would normally expect from an anime. It usually takes about 4 episodes to present a well-rounded story with a beginning and an end, but no real closure. The next episode, everything will be reset in some sort of time loop, letting different events happen, or the same events happen in vastly different ways. Seeing as Higurashi is based off of a sound novel, it's a very good way to adapt several routes and endings while still being very intriguing to the viewer. One of the best things about this show is its atmosphere. It'll usually start off an arc rather upbeat, which serves as amazing juxtaposition against some of the later moments in the series that can be incredibly dark, scary, and even gory. The mystery aspect of the show is absolutely on point. It manages to feed clues to the viewer without really giving anything away as to what the outcome is. It's a real treat for mystery fans such as myself, and I had a really hard time figuring all of it out. Until dawn, called the twist. Persona 4 figured out the killer way before I should have. Higurashi never worked it out fully until it really wanted me to know. But the important thing is that it does let you know. It takes 50 episodes, but the payoff is actually some of the most satisfying payoff I've ever gotten from finishing a series. I didn't have any more questions and I didn't want any more Higurashi. It didn't stop them from making a bunch more, but that's kind of besides the point. I realise now that talking about Higurashi is actually quite difficult because everything is so subject to change. The show doesn't really have a main character, as it really depends on which arc you're watching. The story isn't really consistent, since it's giving us a time loop with no reason for the time loop for a good long while. If you haven't already seen Higurashi though, you should. I was so on the fence about making this video because if you were an anime fan in the late 2000s, you've probably already seen it, but there is a new generation of anime fans who might have not seen Higurashi, and this video is to convince you that this is a real gem from Studio Dean. And if you've already seen Higurashi, I don't know, what else could you watch this Halloween? How about Ukami Kakushi?